Usually when we talk about like a particle accelerator or a massive energy reactor, there is this expectation of pure destructive
Right.
physics.
It's absolute annihilation.
Exactly. I mean, you smash atoms together at near light speed or an engine overloads, and you expect a violent spray of subatomic shrapnel. It's just math. It's violent.
Yeah, we expect the laws of thermodynamics to win every single time.
It's comforting in a grim sort of way, right? Like a bomb goes off, things get vaporized, but then you step into the world of superhero origins and suddenly the laws of physics take a coffee break.
Oh, very long coffee break.
Right. Instead of becoming ash, you step out of the crater with a glowing aura and the ability to punch a spaceship in half. But for you listening today, we want to know, is it actually pure fantasy?
That's the million-dollar question.
Today, we are putting Captain Marvel, the unstoppable cosmic force herself, to the ultimate real-world stress test. We've got a massive stack of sources spanning comic book lore, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and some really cutting-edge scientific analyses.
Yeah, we're diving into physics, biology, and even theoretical cosmology.
Exactly. We're going to see exactly how much of Carol Danvers overlaps with very real science. Okay, let's unpack this.
So to even begin testing her powers against our reality, we have to establish exactly what happened in that crater.
Right, the origin.
Yeah, we have to look at how a working-class kid from Boston, someone who grew up to be a top-tier U.S. Air Force pilot, a acquired these abilities. And the catalyst actually changes depending on which timeline of the sources we examine.
It really does. Like, if we go all the way back to the classic 1969 comics, Carol is working security at NASA.
Oh, the Psyche Magnetron.
Yes, she gets caught in the blast radius of this exploding Kree device called the Psyche Magnetron. This happens during a firefight involving her mentor, the original Captain Marvel, who is an alien Kree named Mar-Vell.
Right, and the lore states that the blast of radiation rewrites her DNA on a molecular level, turning her into a human Kree hybrid.
Which is wild. But then, the comics later introduced a massive retcon.
Oh yeah, in the Life of Captain Marvel series, it revealed her mother, Marie, was actually a Kree champion.
Wait, so she was already a hybrid?
Exactly. In that version, Carol was born a hybrid, and the Psyche Magnetron explosion merely acted as like a cosmic alarm clock. It just awakened the latent powers she already possessed.
Got it.
She also later encounters an alien bug race called the Brood, who experiment on her and connect her to a white hole, unlocking her supercharged binary form.
But if we pivot to the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's a completely different flavor of cosmic accident.
Yeah, the movie Origin.
It's 1989. She's testing a lightspeed engine powered by the Tesseract, which is the Space Stone. It was created by Wendy Lawson, the MCU's version of Mar-Vell.
Right. The Kree commander Jan Rog tries to steal the engine.
And to protect the tech, Carol just shoots it. It detonates, bathing her in raw, concentrated cosmic energy. The sources confirm she effectively dies in that blast.
But Jan Rog revives her with a transfusion of his own Kree blood.
Right, creating the human-Kree hybrid we see on screen. So looking at both scenarios, it's essentially a cosmic software update installed on alien hardware.
That combination of human potential and alien hardware is the foundation of everything she does.
I have to push back on the explosion itself, though.
Oh.
Yeah, whether we are talking about radiation from a magical Kree machine or a literal infinity stone, a massive blast of unknown energy doesn't just rewrite your DNA.
Well, no. Ionizing radiation tears molecular bonds apart.
Right. At those energy levels, a human body would just instantly vaporize.
What's fascinating here is that in the real world, massive doses of radiation do destroy cellular structure. They shred DNA, leading to acute radiation sickness and vaporization.
So it's basically magic.
Well, comic book radiation is the ultimate narrative shortcut. It skips the destruction and jumps straight to mutation. But if we look past the magical explosion and examine the biological results of that hybrid DNA.
Specifically, her physical enhancements.
Exactly. We actually find a very solid link to real human physiology.
Because before she starts flying or shooting lasers, the most terrifying thing about Captain Marvel is her raw physical power.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the sources literally joke about her granny punching a disguised Skrull alien right in the face on a subway train. She has immense unarmed combat power, easily going toe-to-toe with Thanos.
And human biology has a built-in mechanism that mirrors that raw physical power. It's a documented physiological phenomenon known as hysterical strength.
Right, like those anecdotal stories of a mother lifting a 2-ton car off a trapped child. But how does that actually work mechanically?
It all originates in the hypothalamus, which is the region of the brain responsible for maintaining homeostasis or internal balance.
Okay.
When you are thrust into a situation of extreme fear or mortal danger, the hypothalamus hits the emergency override. It commands the adrenal gland to dump massive amounts of adrenaline directly into your bloodstream.
If you've ever been driving down the highway and someone suddenly swerves into your lane and you feel that icy electric jolt shoot through your chest, that's your hypothalamus giving you a microdose of this exact power.
Spot on. And during a full fight or flight response, that jolt completely alters your internal plumbing. The adrenaline binds to specific receptors that increase your heart rate and dilate your airways for maximum oxygen intake.
It essentially supercharges the system.
Yeah, it aggressively shunts blood flow away from non-essential systems like your digestive tract and forces it straight into your major muscle groups. Crucially, it acts as an extreme analgesic, suppressing pain receptors.
So for brief, fleeting moments, humans can exert unfathomable amounts of energy. Wait, so we all have a mini Hulk mode built in. Is there a way to safely hack our hypothalamus to unlock this without being chased by a bear?
Well, researchers and elite powerlifters look into it, but unlocking it permanently is a structural death sentence. The human body has physical limits. We have built-in neurological governors called Golgi tendon organs. They are sensory receptors located where your muscle fiber is attached to your tendons.
Okay, so they monitor tension.
Exactly. When they detect that the tension in the muscle is getting dangerously high, they send an inhibitory signal to stop the muscle from contracting any further.
They force you to drop the weight so you don't hurt yourself.
Right. If those Golgi tendon organs didn't exist, our muscles are actually capable of contracting with enough explosive force to snap our own bones in half, or tear the muscle completely off the skeleton.
Oh, wow. That is gruesome.
Hysterical strength bypasses that governor. It pushes the body past its structural limits, which is why people who experience it often suffer shattered joints, torn ligaments, and extreme physical trauma afterward.
Okay, so that perfectly explains the necessity of her Creed DNA. Her alien physiology grants her enhanced cellular durability and bone density.
Exactly. We have the engine for hysterical strength, but we don't have the chassis to handle the torque.
She has the Creed chassis, so she can run at redline, exerting maximum force, without her muscles literally tearing themselves apart from the sheer kinetic energy of her own punches.
The Cree bone density is the biological safeguard that makes her super strength sustainable.
But that heavy, ultra-dense Cree chassis creates a massive biological problem the second she tries to leave the ground.
It really does.
Because the sources point out, Carol flies unaided with zero technology, no wings, no glider, and she can reach near light speed in the vacuum of space.
According to a comprehensive study out of Yale University, humans flying like birds unaided biological flight is a scientific impossibility.
It just can't happen.
Right. It comes down to a fundamental rule of our universe. Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
So to fly, you must generate lift. You have to push air backward and downward to propel yourself forward and upward.
And human anatomy actively fights against this. The Yale study looked at wing loading and muscle-to-weight ratios. As an animal gets larger, its weight increases at a much faster rate than its physical strength.
And we don't have the hollow, lightweight bone structures of birds.
Exactly. For a human to generate enough aerodynamic lift just to get off the ground, we would need a wingspan of at least 20 feet and pectoral muscles 3 times our current size just to flap them.
But adding that massive amount of muscle mass makes the body even heavier,
which immediately cancels out the lift.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Trying to fly by flapping your arms, especially with ultra-dense Cree bones, is basically like trying to lift a car while you're sitting inside it. The physics just laugh at you.
That's a perfect analogy. Unless the human species undergoes a ground-up evolutionary redesign, biological flight without technology is a dead end.
So she needs another way.
But this is where the science of Captain Marvel takes a clever turn. She doesn't generate aerodynamic lift through physical exertion. She doesn't slap.
To overcome that heavy chassis without wings, she needs a rocket engine. Which brings us to her photon blasts.
Right, because biological flight is out. She relies on her ability to manipulate cosmic energy.
Whether she's drawing from a white hole in her binary form or tapping into the Tesseract's energy in the MCU, she blasts enemies with photons from her hands, and she uses that same directed energy to thrust herself through the sky.
So she essentially turns herself into a living propulsion system. And the concept of shooting energy from our hands, or at least weaponizing photons, is heavily researched right now.
Really? Like handheld lasers?
Well, real-world military institutions and national laboratories are actively developing directed energy weapons, which are highly advanced lasers.
The strategic advantage there is entirely about speed, right? I mean, if you fire a traditional ballistic missile, it takes time to travel.
The target has time to track it, move, or intercept it.
But if you pivot to lasers, as Douglas Beeson, the former associate lab director at the Los Alamos National Laboratory, notes, you are delivering destructive energy at the literal speed of light.
It arrives the exact instant you fire it. But the real-world science of weaponized lasers involves a critical detail that completely contradicts pop culture.
Which is?
Current research is heavily focused on developing invisible rays.
Because if you can see a laser beam moving through the air, it's actually failing.
Exactly. If you've ever played with a laser pointer in a dusty room, you see the beam because the photons are hitting the dust particles and scattering in different directions, eventually hitting your eye.
Okay, I've seen that.
In physics, this is related to Rayleigh scattering. If the light is scattering, it means the beam is losing focus and bleeding kinetic energy into the atmosphere.
So a real weapon wouldn't glow.
Right. A truly weaponized, military-grade laser operates at a specific infrared wavelength that doesn't interact with the atmosphere. It remains completely invisible until it strikes the target and delivers pure, unmitigated heat.
The sources indicate military developers are looking to deploy these invisible directed energy weapons in the next 5 to 10 years, specifically to instantly superheat and destroy incoming ballistic missiles or clear hazardous space debris from orbit.
The technology is moving very quickly from theory to deployment.
Let me hit you with some pushback here, though. Using Newton's third law from our flight discussion.
Okay, let's hear it.
If she's firing a concussive blast of light speed energy forward to blow up a spaceship, wouldn't the recoil send her flying backward? She'd need her super strength just to stay standing.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you'll see how her powers perfectly synergize.
How so?
The recoil would be catastrophic for a normal human. But if you look at her complete power set, everything perfectly compensates for real-world physical laws.
Oh, because of the Cree biology.
Yes, her heavy, ultra-dense Cree chassis and her super strength allow her body to structurally brace against and absorb that massive kinetic recoil.
And when she's in the air, she stops bracing and actually uses that exact recoil to propel herself. She fires energy backward or downward, and Newton's third law rockets her forward. The physics completely check out, provided you have an indestructible body to house the engine.
Her energy absorption, super durability, and directed energy generation operate in perfect self-contained synergy.
That is wild. So we've grounded her strength, her flight, and her photon blasts in actual biology and physics.
Yeah.
But Captain Marvel's story doesn't just happen on Earth. She spends a lot of time in the cosmos, dealing with alien threats and keeping some very strange company. I want to look at whether these wild sci-fi alien concepts have any real-world equivalents in nature.
Okay, let's look outward.
Let's start with her primary adversaries in the MCU. The Skrulls.
The Skrulls. They are green, reptilian humanoids who can shapeshift. They perfectly mimic appearances, voices, and even DNA.
Shapeshifting feels like pure magic.
It does, but the biological mechanics behind it are well documented. In 2016, researchers at the Queen Mary University of London published a study on sea cucumbers, discovering they can change their physical stiffness almost instantly.
Sea cucumbers.
Yeah, when threatened, they literally liquefy their bodies to turn to jelly and escape predators.
How does an organism just liquefy its own structure without dying?
It utilizes mutable collagenous tissue, or MCT. The tissue is controlled directly by the sea cucumber's nervous system.
Okay, so it's a neurological trigger.
Right. When the creature needs to change shape, neurosecretory cells release specific proteins into the collagen matrix. These proteins either bind the collagen fibers tightly together, making the body rigid, or they instantly unlink the bonds, allowing the fibers to slide past one another like liquid.
Wow. It's like having a biological switch that turns your skeleton into water and back again.
Exactly.
And this isn't just an obscure trick used by sea life. On a microscopic level within human biology, scientists at the City College of New York and Yale University are actively modeling how tumor cells change their physical shape.
Yes, the oncology research.
They literally morph and deform themselves to squeeze through dense tissues and metastasize around the body. The Skrulls are simply the concept of mutable collagenous tissue and cellular deformation scaled up to a macroscopic humanoid level.
The mechanism is real. The comics just gave it to an alien species.
Speaking of alien species, we have to talk about her pet,
Oh, the Flurkin.
Yes. In the comics, she has a pet named Chewie. In the MCU, the cat is named Goose. It looks exactly like a normal orange tabby cat, but it's actually an alien known as a Flurkin.
Right, Flurkins have giant tentacles that shoot out of their mouths.
And they supposedly house pocket dimensions inside their bellies to store objects or swallow enemies whole. Let's talk about the math there. Can theoretical physics actually back up the concept of a pocket dimension?
Well, within the realm of string theory, the mathematics absolutely demand the existence of extra dimensions. We experience the universe in 3 spatial dimensions and 1 dimension of time.
Right.
But string theory, which attempts to reconcile quantum mechanics and general relativity, suggests there are up to 10 or 11 dimensions.
But we can't see them or interact with them.
Because they are curled up or compactified. Michael Kavich, a scientist and researcher at Virginia Tech, explains that these extra dimensions exist, but they are compacted into imperceptibly small scales, curled in on themselves in complex shapes known as Calabi-Yau manifolds.
Think of a massive 4K video file compressed into a tiny ZIP folder on your computer. All the complex data is still there, mathematically, but its physical footprint has been minimized so much that it doesn't appear to take up any space on your screen.
And in string theory, that physical footprint is minimized to roughly a billionth of a nanometer.
A billionth of a nanometer.
Yeah. These dimensions exist in a highly compressed state, very similar to the extreme density of the entire universe, just fractions of a second before the Big Bang.
So as much as I love the ZIP file analogy, a pocket dimension that small isn't quite big enough for a cosmic Mary Poppins bag. A Flurkin couldn't swallow a whole group of enemy soldiers or hide the glowing tesseract in its stomach.
No, you wouldn't be able to fit a single atom inside a space that small, let alone an infinity stone.
Bummer.
But it proves the larger point we've been uncovering. Whether we are looking at the protein unlinking shapeshifters in the ocean or the compactified dimensions of string theory, the writers are taking genuinely cutting-edge scientific principles and simply amplifying them.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive looking at a character who was powered by exploding Kree technology, bathed in the radiation of infinity stones, and flying through space, punching armadas.
A lot of pure sci-fi.
And yet, when we really dug into the sources, we found incredibly strong connections to the science of today. We mapped the adrenaline-fueled reality of hysterical strength.
We found the absolute limits of Newton's third law of motion and how wing loading prevents human flight.
We saw how directed energy weapons and invisible military lasers are moving from science fiction to fact. We explored the mechanics of mutable collagenous tissue, and we even touched on the mind-bending math of compactified extra dimensions.
It turns out, you don't have to break science to make a superhero. You just have to bend it really, really far.
That is a great way to put it.
But before we wrap up, there is one final provocative thought that emerges from these sources. Something we haven't touched on yet regarding her biology.
Let's hear it.
We spent this entire time analyzing Carol Danvers' physical strength, her flight, and her dense Kree chassis. But the sources reveal a much darker, almost tragic element to her biology.
Darker. How?
Well, Carol has a remarkable, almost devastating healing factor.
Healing is usually the ultimate biological advantage. How is it tragic?
It becomes tragic when you look at the brain. In the comics, Carol's early career was derailed when the X-Men character Rogue attacked her and permanently drained both her powers and her memories.
Oh, right. I remember that storyline.
And later on, the Kree villain Yon-Rogg caused her massive brain damage when she flew into orbit to save New York. Over and over again in the lore, Carol loses her memory. She loses her identity. The sources actually compare her healing factor to Deadpool and Wolverine.
Right, heroes whose bodies can regenerate from almost any physical trauma. The only way they ever truly experience lasting damage is through severe brain trauma and the resulting memory loss.
Exactly. The body survives, but the mind is constantly wiped.
That is terrifying.
Her cells constantly repair the physical damage to her brain, but the memories attached to those neural pathways are permanently severed. So I want to pose this question for you, the listener, to mull over. With all the physics-defying lasers, the space flight, and the alien DNA, is Captain Marvel's most scientifically fascinating and emotionally devastating power actually her neurological resilience?
Her neurological resilience.
Yeah, her ability to endure continuous, massive brain trauma, lose her entire identity, and somehow still rebuild her mind and her sense of self every single time.
Wow, that is heavy. The ability to just keep rebuilding who you are from scratch, it really makes you look at her entirely differently. She isn't just an indestructible weapon, she is a survivor of her own mind.
It's the most human part of her, really.
Well, that is all the time we have for today. We hope you enjoyed this journey through the cosmos and the laboratory. Keep exploring the science hiding inside your favorite fiction. The next time you see a superhero walking away from a massive atom-smashing particle accelerator explosion, remember the physics might be bent, but the real-world science is always waiting right beneath the surface. Stay curious, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.